Welcome back to the Centered on Buffalo podcast. This week we are joined by my former head coach and current head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott. He is going to be prepping tonight as we're recording for the NFL draft. So we're going to dig in on some draft coverage tonight. We're going to talk about how the offseason is going for him and the team, talk about some individual players as well, and we'll get into some fun stuff with Sean. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for everyone who subscribed to the podcast recently and who have been longtime subscribers. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast, whether that's on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you digest your podcast weekly. Enjoy the podcast.
Hit us up on all social media at The Buffalo Pod.
Coach, welcome back on the podcast.
Great to be back, buddy. It's great to be back. It's been too long.
It has been too long, and I appreciate you dressing up for the occasion of coming back on the podcast. It just shows how much you respect the Center on Buffalo podcast.
Exactly right. And I did have a tux on, but I figured that'd be a little bit too much for the occasion. I didn't want to come on too strong, right?
It's like the Step Brothers scene, you know. I thought the tuxedos were funny, and then you ripped a fart, and now the tuxedos are no longer funny anymore. But anyways, big draft night tonight, and lucky to sit down with you just prior to this first pick coming in about 30, 40 minutes. But for you, and the team's been so good, so it's generally going to be a late first-round pick. Even if you trade up, it's still going to be later in the night. How tough is it waiting around and waiting for that time to come for the Bills?
Every year, man. You love winning. You love sustaining success. But this time of year, it stinks. It stinks. And every year I say to Bean, hey, is there some way we could get up in the top 10, top 15 maybe? And he looks at me and he goes, you win too much. And,
right.
So, yeah, it's give and take, but I'll tell you this, I think to be able to sustain the winning and still pick year to year where we pick, it says a lot about who we are and how we've done things.
Yes, absolutely. That's great player development. That's guys in the scouting department doing their homework to find guys that are going to be a fit for the system. It also helps that you guys have had the same system for so long, so you're drafting guys continually to build depth, to find guys that can plug and play in a certain system and not flip the system every 2 or 3 years. And now you got guys that maybe they don't fit whatever scheme you're in. I've lived in that world for a long time with the Bills. I know you're an early riser. Draft night's going to be a late night for you, way past your normal bedtime. Do you catch a nap? Do you wake up later on draft day?
Well, if you see footage of me with my head down on the table, you'll know why. Because usually I'm in bed by a few hours from now. No, it's, draft day is a little bit unique. So we still have to coach our players who were in today at normal times. So normal morning for us. Scouts come, they kind of start their day a little bit later. And then we come. So then the coaches, I give them a break between the time we're done with the players to about 2 hours before the draft, and then we get rolling again. So tomorrow will be a little bit different than that. But yeah, it's a little bit of a kind of a clunky day, a little bit that way.
Throughout this whole draft process, whether it's Senior Bowl, Combine visits, whatever that may be, Pro Day visits, what's your favorite part of the draft process?
Seeing who's right and who's wrong.
But you don't know that for 2 to 3 years.
True, very true. But even then, it's like it's just interesting, right, to see who takes certain players. And sometimes you're surprised, but more times than not, I think you get a feel for the personality of the club, the philosophy of the organization by who they take. So the hardest thing to watch is in the division or teams that we every year go against that are really good, take good players, and you're going, no, don't take him. So, but it is what it is, and so we've got to continue to find different ways to outpace them.
Yeah, I would love to sit in the draft room and hear who you guys think is good or who might have been a stretch or whatever that may be, because you sit around all offseason. We don't necessarily get that info from GMs and scouting departments and coaches. We get that from the Kuipers, the McShays of the world. So now you have this huge draft surprise, but it might not be a surprise to the 32 front offices, but it was a surprise to everyone else watching on TV because they've been digesting the same content from the same people putting it out there each and every day. I always kind of wondered that, you think so-and-so's this huge reach, but all the teams might have had them a lot higher. And I understand that those guys have ins in a lot of organizations. So they're getting pretty good info on where maybe teams have those guys ranked, but it's still always interesting to me when, the fans boo because, oh, he wasn't even on Mel Kiper's top 10 available at that time. And then it becomes this big charade, and it might not even been true. Let's take a moment to hear from one of our sponsors, and that's Dan-O's Seasoning. They got that new lime green bottle out. That's the chili lime. Make sure you go to a retail store near you or danoseasoning.com and pick you up some of that chili lime. It might be my favorite one yet. Yum, yum. Get you some. What's your least favorite part of the draft process?
I think when people start blowing things out of proportion, expectation wise, these guys are young. These players are rookies coming into the league, and they expect them. I think that it's awesome that fans get excited about the draft and adding new players, and I do as well, even after all these years. I think what I look forward to the most is finding out the strengths of the players that we do get and putting those strengths in position to help us year to year. I think that's part of being a coach, right? For myself and our staff. I think what really kind of, I guess, makes me a little bit turned off at times is when it's like, oh, this player's going to do this for this team and that for this team and this for us. And it's like, well, you don't really know, as you alluded to, until you get here. You see how they transition to life in the NFL.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You were talking before about how maybe it's not surprising when, a player goes to an organization. Have you seen the storyline out there that if a guy has a wrestling background, that the Bills are going to be in on him and at least bring him in on a pre-draft visit so that you can talk to him and have a wrestling conversation?
Yeah, I think I've heard it. It once or twice, and it's true. It's true. Not 100% true, but I mean it does catch my eye. Our scouts, I guess, hopefully not biasly, but unbiasedly, earmark some ex wrestlers or guys that have wrestled in their past. Yeah, right away that the player is tough.
Here we go.
Yeah, he's tough. He knows how to work. And it's probably not about him. It's probably more about the team. So
yeah,
good qualities.
That's a strong endorsement. All right. So how much say do you get on draft night or throughout these next 3 days? How much say do you get with Brandon and his team and Terry and everyone in the room? Are they saying, hey, Sean, this guy's maybe going to fall to us? Are you good with this? Or are you kind of just, you've done your homework, you've submitted who you want, and your homework's done already?
Yeah, I mean, this is Brandon's show, and he's done a great job. They put a lot of work in, especially the scouts, right? The area scouts, the college area scouts. Really, this is their show, and we're playing all season. I'll try and send them a text or an email if I can, just to let them know that we appreciate them, and that because they're the ones that are out there going to the campuses, the different games. And they don't get a lot of credit, right? So, and then we get to tonight, and really it's a culmination, Eric, of a lot of hard work from the scouts, the coaches, different staff, support staff in our building who help us get to know these players even more. And so so really, the answer to your question is Brandon has the final say. I'd like to believe that we talk through things and communicate. But just like, games are, I have final say game day, that he has final say on the draft here.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, we're going to give a quick shout out to Waterboy. best hydration packets on the market right now. We'll make sure to get some sent up to you, Sean. They'll be great for your workouts. I know you're not recovering from hangovers very often, if ever. So,
No, I am right now. I am right now.
exactly. But listeners get 20% off. Use code EWOOD. Link to that's in the show notes. All right, switching gears. You mentioned the guys are back in the building. It's phase one. This was always one of my favorite times of the year. It actually, when my career ended, when I saw the picture of the guys getting back for spring workouts, that's when that was like the first big gut punch. Like I need to be there. I wish I was there. It was always so much fun, playing golf after we're done working out, or go play poker, or play video games, or go out to eat. And a lot of guys' families aren't there. So guys can get together more often outside the building than maybe they can during the season. But there's a new strength coach running the show. What kind of changes is Will Greenberg going to bring to this offseason program that maybe you've already seen so far with the guys in the building working out?
Yeah, Will's off to a great start. 1 week in, Eric, and Will, and he's got this growth mindset that is he dips his toe into a lot of different kind of ideas and researches them, and he's been coming up all through the 8 years we've been here to this point. Now going on 9, he's been growing the whole time, right? Watching him come in as a young fledgling, I'll call him, young coach, and get his feet wet in life in the NFL, learn every year. I just love how he's curious about things. Like he always asks why, what if, and so that's what's led him to where he is in his career now, and his ability to now lead our team from the strength room, which to me is a huge deal, right? You and I have a couple friends in common in that industry, and
Yep.
It's almost like when you find a really good strength coach, you want to say at some point, hey, eventually I'd love to make you the assistant head coach, because I just believe in my heart it's just that important to a team. It's where toughness begins. It's where certainly you get stronger, faster, bigger. I mean, that's where the game's won up front in particular. So.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Will's one of my favorite people to ask questions to, or say, "Hey, what's your favorite book recommendation that you got right now?" I mean, he's been that way since 2017 in my life, and we remain great friends. I always love seeing him on the road. I'll make a point to catch a workout with him from time to time, or just pick his brain about nutrition, whatever it may be. I absolutely love that dude. Was very excited for him to get the opportunity to step into that head role. All right, so Trey White is back in the building, and obviously he's going to have to earn his starting spot. He had a rough couple years with injuries, seemed to be playing some pretty good football last year, and then really excited to see him have a full off season, healthy, and get going back with the Bills. But besides the on-field stuff, what excites you the most about having Trey back in the building?
Well, it's great to see a player come home, right? Our first draft pick in 2017, excuse me, and I mean what a job he did in terms of helping get this place turned around, as well as you, right, and many others, and get us going in the right direction. He as a person helped with that, right? Like you did as a person. Not even talking about what you guys did on the field, but like this place has been built by people and the types of people like Trey, like you, like Kyle Williams, and many others. That's how this culture has been built. And for him to want to come back, and he's not the only one, right? So just, I don't know, yesterday or the day before, we sat in my office, Trey's first day back, and we sat there for probably a good half hour, and we were just catching up. And he stopped and he said, I don't know, Sean, if I would have been able to have this conversation in my first go around, just because now being out there at 2 other teams and then coming back here, he was able to describe what he saw at those other organizations. Not that it was bad, but it was
Right.
just different than what we do, right, and how we do things. And so we literally talked about things, and it's like I'm sitting there, Eric, and I'm going, just yesterday, he was 21 years old, 22 years old,
Right.
first draft pick. And now here's this young man with 3 boys, and he's all grown up, right? And he has the stories to tell about it, right? His first go around here, what it was like out there in the wilderness, let's call it, and then to come back. And it's, he was telling me, he's like, and you may have heard this, he's like, I told my agent, he said, if you can't get something done with Buffalo, I don't want to hear from you. So I just think, who knows um, what'll unfold this year, right? We don't
Right.
know. He's got to earn it. Um, he had, he struggled in LA a little bit, right? With, some, with what they were going through and what he was going through coming off the injury. I mean, that was right after his injury. Went to Baltimore. We thought an uptick in some of the play. And again, it's somewhat natural to think that as the days and weeks passed, right, coming off the injury. So we're excited to see what he's going to be able to do for us. Listen, I don't know of anybody that's been able to come off of 2 injuries like he's come off of. But if anybody can do it, Trey can, and he's gonna work his tail off and be great for us in the building and in that room.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he was one of my favorite teammates that I got to play with and still spend time with after I was done. Absolutely love that dude. Was gutted when he tore his Achilles against Miami. I struggled to call the remainder of the game. And look, the Bills were running away with it. It was a huge win. There was so much excitement in the stadium. And I just had a pit in my stomach that stayed with me for days. Just felt so bad. All the hard work that he put in to come back from the ACL and then to tear his Achilles on such a, I say routine play. An injury can happen at any time, especially those non-contact ones like that, but was absolutely gutted. And I'm fired up. And I loved watching him in his media appearance. You could just see the joy on his face about being back in Buffalo. And you talk about, he wanted to come back. Mike obviously came out of retirement, was on the practice squad. I think all of us would love, from that 2017 team, would love to come back and strap it up again for the Bills, except Kyle. I don't think there's a price that would get Kyle off LSU's coaching staff right now to come back and strap him on at this point.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We miss all you guys. We really do. And just what great stories, what great experiences, now friendships that we've built over the years. And man, what a blessing it's been, right, over the years to come here. I'm not sure. All I wanted to try and do was win that first game and get that under my belt, right? So I didn't go like 0-16 or 0-17, whatever it was. So we got off the schneid right away with that first one against the Jets, and the rest has been history, man. But from that moment to now, 8+ years of just great memories, great friendships, relationships. I couldn't be more grateful.
Yeah, I'm grateful for it as well. It's been a great ride for me calling the games. I don't know how the guys did the job, throughout my career when we stunk. It wouldn't be fun calling a loser every week and try to make excuses for them, but you guys make it fun to show up each and every week and call those games. All right, I got a couple quick ones for you, and I'll get you out of here. You mentioned Will Greenberg, mindset, the growth mindset type. You're that same way. What's Sean McDermott trying to get better at right now?
Everything. I think me, Wood. It's constantly being curious about everything under the sun. My faith, being a better person, being a better husband. How can I be a better dad? Be a better teammate to those in the building. Just really continuing to try and work on me as a person. Finding new things leadership-wise, finding new things that I think we can evolve schematically for our offense, defense, and special teams even. So I just think, honestly, it's not a cop-out. It's really what I'm all about, is just trying my best to continue to move the scale, right, every day. So, yeah. Have you read the 5 a.m. Club?
I have read that. That's a good one.
Yeah, someone just recommended. I'm literally out in the outfield yesterday of one of my kids' games, and one of the parents turns to me and says, "Hey, have you read the 5 a.m. Club?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "I think you'd love it." So
you will love it.
I think people know me a little bit around here.
And a book that I just finished, it's called The 5 Types of Wealth. I think you'll like that one too. It'll make a good audiobook as well if you want to knock it out during workouts or whatever. But the 5 Types of Wealth is a really good one as well. It had me thinking deep on, stuff with spending time in certain areas, in physical wealth. If you neglect that, then it's going to catch up to you if you don't dig in on your faith, your social connections, all of it. So really good book. I would recommend that one. I just finished it up. All right. One of the most consistent people I know, maybe the most consistent. What's your everyday breakfast right now? Because I know it changes, but what is it right now?
4 hard-boiled eggs. Okay. The egg whites only. Avocado and toast. Wheat toast and oatmeal.
Okay, I was going to say, did you get away from the oatmeal? Because I saw you eating
Oatmeal, blueberries, and craisins.
Nice. I like that.
Which almonds?
At one time, you told me that your go-to cheat meal was cereal, like a big win. You're going home, you're going to eat some cereal. What's your go-to cheat meal nowadays?
Cheeseburger.
Nice.
Double cheeseburger.
What's the best burger? What's the best burger in Buffalo?
Grange smash burger.
Yes, that's a solid one.
Yeah.
That is a really good one.
Yeah.
All right, last one for me. Are you going to play in the Lake Tahoe golf tournament this year?
I'm not playing this year. I know the fans. My fans are going to miss me. They're going to be disappointed. As my kids remind me every year, Dad, are you going to play in that tournament? And I say, I'd love to. They go, yeah, we'd love to go again. They said, Dad, but can you just try and not come in third to last?
I feel like it's one of those things, though, like, especially as a head coach, if you're too good at golf, it's a bad look. And some grew up, I guess, playing the game and, have some long-standing habits and routines and a swing that's repeatable. But it's like it's like a CEO that's really good at golf. Like, maybe you should be spending some more time at work. So,
here's the funny part, right? So, we're playing out there. So 3 rounds, first hole of each round, par, baby, right? Par, right? I mean, this is a wrestler playing golf, okay?
Right.
So par the first hole, I'm like, we're off to a great start, baby. This is going to be, I may win it, right? I may win it. Well, it didn't even come close. But so after the first round, I'm like, I'm going to the driving range. 2 hours pounding balls, right? Just pounding balls. And trying to work on whatever I was doing wrong. Still to this day, don't know what I was doing wrong. So Kyle texts me, and there's like, a night entertainment thing. They're going to listen to the band play and this and that. I'm like, I'm not going. I'm staying at the range, right? So he's sending me texts basically like saying, I can't believe you're doing this to your wife and your kids. This is family time. Like basically messing with me.
right.
Well, the next, and then, so Kyle was in like the top 3 to 5 after round 1. So the next day, he falls off, right? And we go on this little cruise, our families do, and Whit was there too, and we're going on this cruise, and here's Kyle, like when he's sitting on the cruise thing on the side of the boat, and he's like miserable, wouldn't talk to anyone, and I'm like, oh, funny how that goes, right? Now you know how I feel after every round, right?
That's hilarious. That's funny. Yeah, you needed a swing coach out there with you because golf's one of those games where when you get in a bad spot, it's really hard to figure it out on your own. That's why there's football coaches too, to give you those little pointers to get you back on path. Coach, have an awesome time tonight. Good luck in the draft. I texted Brandon this morning at about 5:15 and he responded back not long after. So hopefully he caught a nap because I know it's a big night for him. But I appreciate you coming on the podcast. As always, you're the best. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, buddy. Love you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Love you too, Coach.
Hey, buddy.